What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of What's the Word, your home for all things sports. I'm Sam Casillas, and let's get right into it. NFL Championship Week is here. 4 teams remaining fighting to punch their ticket to Vegas for Super Bowl 58. Starting with the AFC side, Chiefs versus Ravens. Good matchup in store. Really excited for this game between these two AFC heavy hitters. Lots of ballers on both sides of the ball. Starting with the Chiefs, coming off of that win against Buffalo, 27-24. Those two teams always play each other well. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. That never disappoints. I mean, those two, that game literally came down to the wire. The last final play, 27-24. The Chiefs were able to walk out with the win courtesy of a kick wide right. And that's going to send the Chiefs to their 6th straight AFC championship. Tremendous accomplishment. But one thing is going to be a little bit different this year. It's going to be the first time that they're going to play that on the road. That was a big story for Patrick Mahomes coming into this playoff. He has never played a playoff game on the road. The Chiefs, unfortunately, couldn't secure that number 1 seed. And that's been the story for this team this playoffs. They've had to go on the road for the first time last week in Buffalo, and they were able to take care of business. So another tall task for them this week in Baltimore, but I'm sure this team is definitely up for it. They have that experience. Like I said, this is their 6th straight AFC championship, so that experience is definitely there. I mean, this team knows exactly how to play in these types of games. They know what's at stake. And I think that's where Baltimore is going to fall short a little bit. It's been, some years they haven't been to the AFC Championship since 2013. And that was actually the year they won the Super Bowl. So I think that experience for the Chiefs is definitely just going to come back and benefit them. Andy Reid's been in those games. Patrick Mahomes, as young as he is, he's had all this experience. So 6 in a row. First on the road, I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good game between Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. But if you're the Chiefs, I think you just want to ride that momentum from that Buffalo win. Mahomes was on fire. He finished up with 17-23, 215 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. Both of those coming to Travis Kelce. So the fact that those two were able to hook up and get on the same page, that was huge for the Chiefs. It was a little bit of a tough end of the season for Kelce. He went those last 3 games without having a touchdown reception, but the fact that he was able to just flip that switch in the playoffs just shows how dangerous him and Mahomes can be in the playoffs. And again, kind of just ties back to that experience. Those two, they've played so many playoff games, and that one no different. Those two just really coming alive in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see them build off of that connection here against Baltimore. And then Isaiah Pacheco, he's still questionable for Sunday's game, but if the Chiefs can get him in the lineup, I'm sure they're really going to be excited for that. He brings so much value to that Chiefs offense. We saw him with the touchdown against Buffalo, but he can catch passes out of the backfield. He can run. He's just a tremendous asset for that Chiefs offense and Andy Reid. So if they can get him to go, if they can get him to suit up, I'm sure the Chiefs are going to love to see him play on Sunday. But getting into the offensive focus for the game for the Chiefs, it's going to be really simple, actually. A lot of focus is going to be on that Chiefs offensive line versus that defense of the Ravens, that front four for the Ravens. Baltimore likes to bring a lot of pressure, and they like to do it a lot of different ways. They like to disguise it. Hats off to their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. He disguises pressures really well. He does a great job of that. And Baltimore actually leads the league in sacks with 60. But one thing I think it's really important to point out and interesting to point out is that they're the 7th lowest blitzing team in the NFL. So the fact that they're able to disguise these looks and really mess with that offensive line's communication, it's really what's creating them these looks for their pass rushers to get one-on-one looks and for them to win those reps. So for them to have those 60 sacks, I mean, that says a lot about, how hard that defense plays. And, they're hungry. They're the 1 seed. They feel that it's their year. They've missed the playoffs. They've missed the championship for some time. And they feel like it's their year. So they definitely want to come, and, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. And I think they want to make their presence known. So that's definitely going to be a big focus of the game, is that trench play between both squads. It's going to be a good one for sure. And then obviously, if you're the Chiefs, you're going to look for some production from people who aren't Travis Kelce or someone who isn't Rashee Rice. I think that's what it's going to come down to. The Ravens are going to devote a lot of attention to Travis Kelce, to Patrick Mahomes, to Rashee Rice. They know that these players can make plays for the Chiefs. They've proven it time and time over. So I think the Chiefs are really just going to have to look to MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, and Justin Watson. There is going to be a lot of attention on Kelce and Rice. So I think they're just going to have to hit those and make some big catches. I think the Ravens are really going to try to make someone who isn't Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice beat them. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on those Chiefs receivers. We know it's been a little bit of a tough year. They've been plagued with some tough drops and some big games, some tough penalties. So seems like they're still trying to find their groove and find their identity as a wide receiver core. But I'm excited to see how this team plays with all that attention on Travis Kelce. I think there's going to be some opportunities for them to make some big plays down the stretch. And, in a game as high stakes as this, I mean, they're really going to need that production from everybody if they want to get back to the big stage, get back to the Super Bowl. So the Ravens are really just going to try and make somebody else beat them. And so I'm sure Mahomes is going to be looking for Kelce. But Kelce, they're going to put a lot of defensive attention on him. So it's going to be exciting to see how Mahomes gets these other receivers involved. And if the Chiefs can establish that run game, if Pacheco is not able to go, that's going to be a big part of the Chiefs' offense. And then looking at the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, stopping the run game is going to be huge. They gave up the most yards this season to Buffalo last week, so they're coming off a bit of a tough game. And I think if you're the Ravens, you definitely know that. You definitely want to hit them in that area. The Ravens are a great rushing team. So the fact that Kansas City is a little bit vulnerable coming off of that tough performance against Buffalo, I think that the Ravens are going to want to get out and show that they can run the football. And then if you're the Chiefs, you really just want to limit Lamar's explosiveness. So much easier said than done. I mean, we've seen time and time again, Lamar's ability to just extend plays when they break down. So it's really no easy task, but we know this Chiefs secondary, they're physical, they like to tackle. So I think if they have a spy on Lamar and just really do anything they can to limit his mobility, I think they're going to be in business. But yeah, really stopping that run game is going to be key. They are in a vulnerable spot, So I think it's going to be a good competition. We mentioned that offensive line play, defensive line play. It's going to come back and factor again. Chris Jones, one of the best run stuffers in the league. It's hasn't been proven much statistically. He's had a bit of a tough year, but I have no doubt that Chris Jones is going to activate it in the playoffs and show the Chiefs why he signed that extension, why he's worth all that money. So yeah, just the Chiefs stopping the run, stopping Lamar. I think it's going to give them the best chance if they want to make it to the Super Bowl and if they want to, punch their ticket to Vegas. And if you're the Ravens, I mean, the number one seed in the AFC, 13-4 coming into this one, led by MVP candidate Lamar Jackson. He's been tremendous all year on the ground, in the air. Ravens' first NFC Championship game since 2013, like I mentioned earlier. That was actually the year they won the Super Bowl against San Francisco. So a chance to maybe have history repeat itself. But if you're Baltimore, I think you're really hungry. You're happy to be back in this situation. Against a good Chiefs team, you're at home. I think that's going to play a big key for the Ravens if they want to win this one. Coming off of a dominating win against the Texans too. Unfortunately, they did come out a little bit slow. Only 7 at the half in that game against Houston, but we saw them able to turn up and come out with a big win against the Texans. So I think they're going to carry that momentum from that dominating win against Houston. But I think one of the keys for the Ravens offense is coming out swinging. Like I mentioned, they did have that slow start to Houston, although they were able to win the game against a team like the Chiefs, who's been in games like this, who's been in situations, and they just know the stakes of the game. I feel like it's going to be a little bit different. If Baltimore wants to win this one, they got to come out swinging. They're going to be at home, so I think their home crowd is going to play a big part in this game. And if they can get them involved early, I think that's going to play a huge role in this game. And just mess with that timing of Kansas City a little bit. Maybe rattle Mahomes. We know it's so tough to throw him off his game, but just any advantage that the Ravens can get, I'm sure they'll definitely love to take it. And then just looking at establishing that run game on offense, whether it's Lamar Jackson, whether it's Gus Edwards, this team wants to run the ball, and they're going to make that known. They have a tremendous O-line, and they really get the job done up front, but they're 5th in the league in yards before contact. So the fact that they're getting this run game done with minimal contact at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, I think that's just tremendous to point out. They're going to be looking to run a lot of power and counter, so they want to get those offensive linemen in space. They want to get them pulling, and they want to open up the play-action game. So I think that's going to be one of the key focal points for the Ravens if they can continue to pound the rock, if they can continue to run the ball and, gain. I think that's really going to open up the play-action game, and I think that's going to force Lamar Jackson to have to knock down and make a few throws, but I'm definitely confident in his ability to do that. We know the Ravens have a tremendous run game, and when that run game gets going, boy, they're hard to stop. They like to do a lot of QB design runs and then sprinkle in a little bit of Edwards in there. They're truly crazy on the run game, and I think they're going to be looking to come out against Kansas City and kind of punch them in the mouth a little bit, show them that, hey, we belong here, and we can hang with the big boys. The Chiefs might not be the 1 seed, but they're still a little favored because of their experience, I think, and I think the Ravens are taking that bad taste in their mouth, and they're coming out and they're playing with some fire under them. So I'm really excited to see how Baltimore comes out and plays and just tries to establish the run game. If they can get that going, it's gonna be great for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, and that's gonna open up the play action game. So just establishing that run game is gonna be huge for the Chiefs. And then on the defensive side of the ball, limiting Travis Kelce and really just making someone else beat you. We mentioned that was going to be a point of emphasis for the Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and just trying to disrupt the timing between those two as much as the Ravens can. So they're really going to try to make somebody else beat him. I mentioned Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman. They're going to have to step up and make some plays for the Chiefs. But I think if you're the Ravens, you're going to have to make somebody else beat you. Put a lot of defensive effort, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith on Travis Kelce at all times, and really just make Mahomes look elsewhere and have the Chiefs figure out something else. So I think that's really going to be the key for the Ravens is just limiting Travis Kelce. Obviously easier said than done. We know how he can just flip the switch in the playoffs. Him and Mahomes have that great connection. So that's going to be huge if they want to win this one. Just make somebody else beat you. And then pressure Mahomes and force takeaways is going to be huge for this Ravens defense. We mentioned they were first in the league in sacks, and they don't blitz as much. So the fact that they're able to disguise those coverages and just win those one-on-ones is going to be huge for this Ravens team. Despite a lot of good stats going back and forth, I'm still going to have to go with the Chiefs on this one. I think Patrick Mahomes, he's been in this situation before. It's going to be tough to beat him, and a lot of teams struggle beating Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's just going to be really comfortable despite being on the road. He knows the stakes of the game. He knows what's on the line, a trip to the Super Bowl, and like I said, he's been here before, so I think he's going to use that experience, and he's going to come out swinging on the road. He's got something to prove because this is his first year having to play a playoff game on the road. He went up to Buffalo. He handled business. Now he's trying to silence the critics, and he's trying to head on the road to Baltimore and beat this tough Ravens team at home. So it's going to be a good one, but I do have the Chiefs winning this one 21-17 if they can handle that Ravens front four, if they can establish the run game, and if they can get the ball in the hands of Kelce, and if MVS and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Mecole Hardman can make some catches, I think it's going to be a fun game for the Chiefs. So I got the Chiefs winning that one 21-17, and that's my pick for the AFC to head to the Super Bowl. So we'll take a short break, and in just a moment we'll discuss the NFC. So we'll be back in just a few moments. And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the first episode of What's the Word? Now we're going to dive into the NFC side of things. We just finished up with the AFC, and the Chiefs are going to be my pick, but now let's move on to the NFC. So moving over to the Bay Area for the NFC Championship, really looking forward to seeing how Detroit comes out and if they can ride that high they've had so far in these playoffs. Of course, no easy task against this star-studded San Fran lineup on both sides of the ball, really, but I'm just excited to see how Detroit comes out and plays this one. Actually, their first NFC Championship appearance since 1991. Just let that sink in for a moment. This team, hasn't been here in so long, and they're hungry. They're looking to make their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history, and this team is really fired up. They've been through so much in the past couple of seasons. Just 3 years ago when head coach Dan Campbell got there, they went 3-13, finished that year 9-8 the second year, and now 12-5 find themselves in the NFC Championship. So things are surely pointing in the right direction for Detroit. Dan Campbell's really changed the organization. He's got a lot of support of the fans. The players love him. Just not enough good things to say about head coach Campbell. And I sure love seeing what he's done for Detroit and just how he's really changed that culture in just 3 years, just a short amount of time. And he has an opportunity to make history with the squad. and lead them to their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history. So I think that's huge. I'm excited to see the Lions come out hungry, and no easy task against this San Francisco squad. A lot of weapons on both sides of the ball, but I think the Lions, that hunger, they feel like they deserve to be here, and I think they're going to play. Their play is going to reflect that. Their offensive focus is going to be simple: run the ball and stick with what they know. We know the Lions want to run behind that offensive line. Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell. They want to get that run game going, and I think that might be the 49ers. Really, the 49ers' only weakness on defense. They're 14th in the league in yards per carry allowed. So the Lions are really going to try to attack that 49er defense and just establish that run game. We know they have that tremendous duo of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So if they can get those two going early on, it's going to be a great sign for the Lions. Pin and pull behind Penei Sewell is really a bread and butter for the Lions. They like to do a lot of outside sweep, a lot of outside zone. Just try to get around that edge and kind of take advantage of the lack of discipline of this San Francisco edge. We know that the Green Bay Packers were able to run for a good amount last week against them. So really just trying to set that edge, run behind Penei Sewell, a lot of pin and pull. We're going to see a lot of outside runs, and we know that 49er defense is aggressive. So Dan Campbell, his line squad, really going to rise up to the challenge and just try to go right at this San Francisco team and just show them that, we're not afraid to get down and dirty and scrap with the big boys. And I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited to see how the Lions come out. If they can just stay aggressive and stick with what they know, I think it's going to open up a lot for Jared Goff and that offense, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And staying aggressive, we know Dan Campbell likes to go for it on fourth down, and I definitely don't see him shying away from that if they do get in some third and shorts and some fourth downs. I think he's definitely going to keep that offense on the field and stay aggressive. We know that this 49er team can get a little anxious. So, if those fourth down, those third and shorts, Dan Campbell, expect him to take some shots and really put a lot of pressure on this 49ers secondary to play some defense. And we know they've been called for some penalties in the past on those short downs. So that's really going to be a point of emphasis if Dan Campbell wants to stay aggressive. He knows that he's going to need every opportunity he can get against the San Francisco squad. So I'm really just excited to see how that team comes out on the road in San Francisco and play against this big dog San Francisco team. It's going to be a good one. But looking at the defensive side of the ball, easier said than done, but they're going to have to stop Christian McCaffrey, MVP candidate, 21 all-purpose touchdowns, 2,023 all-purpose yards, and could possibly be without Deebo Samuel, so that could also give McCaffrey a heavier workload if the Niners are without Deebo Samuel. We know how much he brings to that offense, just the do-it-all threat for the Niners. He can catch passes, he can run out of the backfield. We know just Deebo Samuel is a tremendous athlete, and he brings so much to the Niners, so they're surely going to love to have him go tomorrow, but if he can't go, I think that's just going to make the workload a little bit heavier for McCaffrey. I'm sure he doesn't mind. He's such a workhorse, and the Niners really love to get the ball to him, whether or not Deebo is in the lineup, but I think without Deebo, there's going to be a heavier emphasis on McCaffrey, so if the Lions can just stop him right out of the gate, I think they're going to be in a good spot. Actually, top 3 in the league, the Lions are in rushing yards allowed, just 88.8 rushing yards per game allowed to opponents, which is the second fewest in the NFL. So the Lions, this team is hungry. They come to play. They're a physical squad. We know their linebackers are aggressive, reading run. And, that's going to be key, this offensive line for San Francisco. They want to get out there. They want to push these guys around. They want to give the ball to McCaffrey and establish that run game. So I think if the Lions can just come out and just be physical and match the Niners' physicality, I think they're going to be in a great spot to stop that run. I mentioned they're the second best run defense in the league, and I think they're going to put that on display against San Fran. 3.7 yards per carry allowed. I think that's huge. That's going to be huge if they want to stop this explosive 49er offense. And limiting those big plays, I think, is really going to be huge because we see the 49ers thrive so much off of momentum. They get one big play, and it seems like they just start to fall into chunks. So limiting that momentum and limiting that explosiveness against the 49ers is going to be really key for the Lions if they want to win. And just one thing I want to point out, no running back has ran for more than 70 yards against Detroit all year. And the 5 times that Christian McCaffrey has been held under 70 yards, San Francisco has lost 3 of those 5 games. So simple, the Niners go as McCaffrey goes, and I think that's going to be huge point of emphasis in this game. So if the Lions can come out hungry and stack the box, stop the run, I think that's going to be key in their fight for a win. But on the flip side of that, I think it's important that this Lions linebacker crew stays disciplined because we know they like to crash the run so hard that leaves them a little bit vulnerable on the play action in that middle of the field. So definitely going to see the 49ers attack that. But if you're the Lions, you definitely want to bring that pressure and just make Brock Purdy as uncomfortable as he can. Because if you give him time, you know he's going to find those weapons down the field. George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. So just putting as much pressure as they can on Purdy is going to be the key. But like I said, I think this Lions team is hungry. They got a lot to prove, and they're going to come out swinging. They're definitely not just going to go there and lay down. And I think it's going to be a good fight. But moving on to San Fran, they're heavily favored to win this game. Like I mentioned, so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And this team is loaded. So San Francisco back in the NFC Championship for the third straight year. They are on a mission. They have their eyes on the prize. And they're playing with some fire under them. This team is hungry. I mean, tough game against Green Bay. Nearly lost. Had to come back and win that one. But this team is hungry. And they have their eyes on the Super Bowl. They have their eyes hoisting that Lombardi trophy. And no doubt they're going to come out swinging, a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth, I feel, after, nearly losing to Green Bay, the 7 seed. So I think they have a little bit of a point to prove, and they're going to have to come out swinging if they want to beat this tough, resilient Lions squad. I think that's going to be a huge point of emphasis, is just coming out swinging for the 49ers. But looking at the offensive focus, I think it's really going to be the passing game of San Francisco. That's going to be huge. They're going to put a lot of emphasis on Christian McCaffrey, and the Lions' ability to stop the run is going to be huge. And I think that's going to open up a lot of passing game for Brock Purdy. The Lions are actually bottom 27th in the league in passing yards allowed. So they're not too good at defending the pass. So I think if the Niners can just get that run game going, I think it's going to open up the play action game. It's going to open up a lot more for Purdy down the field. And really just stopping the blitz for San Francisco. That offensive line is going to have to hold up strong and keep Purdy upright and just let those linebackers pay. Like I mentioned, those linebackers are aggressive on the run. They like to crash run. Their initial read is run. So if Brock Purdy can get that run game going, that'll open up the play action surely. And that's going to get Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle to just sneak behind those blitzes and make a lot happen. We know they're tremendous with the ball in open field. So if Purdy can get them the ball, they're going to make something happen. So that's going to be a huge focal point for the Lions. And for the 49ers is stopping that blitz, because they know that the Lions are trying to make some plays and they're coming hard. So stopping that blitz is going to be key. Keeping Purdy upright is going to be key. And then shifting to the defensive side of the ball, shutting down that duo of Gibbs and Montgomery, and really making Jared Goff throw is going to be key for the 49ers. We know that the Lions want to establish that run game, but if the 49ers can just get on that run game early and make Jared Goff make some throws, I think they're going to be in a good spot. And we know their linebackers, their secondary, Diamador Lenore, Fred Warner, Charvarius Ward, they're physical players, so we know that those are kind of the sparks for this 49er defense, and if they can get going, it's going to be scary for that 49er defense. So I'm excited to see how they shut down the duo of Gibbs and Montgomery, and Jared Goff's going to have to make some throws, and I think it's going to come down to it. And we know he can, but I think against this 49er defense, it's definitely going to be tough. And again, it's going to be a dogfight. So winning in the trenches on defense, we know that those fronts can really go at it. We know that the 49ers can get home. No surprise there. But I think if the 49ers can just really make Jared Goff uncomfortable and make him put as much pressure on him as possible, I think they're going to be in a good spot, and they can trust that secondary to hold it down back there. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a dogfight. But I do see the Lions just winning this one 28-21. I think it's going to be close. I think this city's just so hungry. They've been yearning for this for so long, and I think they're going to let that carry them all the way to the Super Bowl. So I see the Lions coming out victorious in this one, 28-21. But it's going to be a great weekend of football, and I'm excited to see these two games. But yeah, that's my pick. So I'm saying Chiefs-Lions. It's going to be a great Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and hope you guys enjoy the game. So that's going to do it for episode number 1. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I'm Sam Casillas. Episode 1 of What's the Word in the books. We'll see you next time. Thank you.